He watched, he waited, and then he struck. A predator who moved under cover of night, binding his victims, silencing their screams, and leaving no trace. Greater than he terrorized California for over a decade, raping, murdering, and disappearing without a clue. The police were outsmarted, the public paralyzed by fear, and for 40 years he vanished. Known by many names, the Visalia Ransacker, East Area Rapist, original Night Stalker, his final identity shocked the world. The Golden State Killer. Greater than today, on the crime stream, we uncover one of the darkest manhunts in American history and how the monster behind it was finally caught through a trail of blood, and DNA. Before he was raping and killing, he was breaking in. From 1974 to 1975, a series of more than 120 burglaries hit the small town of Visalia, California. Greater than homes were ransacked in bizarre ways. Women's underwear was stolen. Photographs were taken. Small items like coins or jewelry vanished while expensive valuables were left untouched. Greater than in 1975, the ransacker escalated. He shot and killed Claude Snelling, a journalism professor, during an attempted kidnapping of Snelling's daughter. This was the first known murder by the man who would later become the Golden State Killer. But after this, the attacks suddenly stopped. The ransacker disappeared. Police had no idea. He had simply moved north. In 1976, a new crime wave gripped the Sacramento area. Women were raped in their homes, sometimes while their children or partners were forced to listen. Greater than the attacker wore a ski mask, gloves, and often brought ligatures with him. He tied victims tightly, sometimes in elaborate knots. He left behind eerie scenes and no clues. Greater than his signature was evolving. He would break in through sliding glass doors, cut phone lines, and often attack within blocks of previous crime scenes. Greater than, but most chillingly, he seemed to enjoy tormenting his victims psychologically. In one case, he whispered to a woman, "You'll be silent forever," as he hovered over her bed in the dark. By 1979, the East Area Rapist had committed over 50 confirmed rapes, though many believe the number is closer to 70. He began targeting couples. He'd force the man to lie face down, then stack plates on his back and warn, "If I hear these move, she dies." Greater than he often stayed in the home for hours. He would rummage through drawers, eat from the fridge, even drink beer after the assault. Then came the chilling phone calls. Survivors reported receiving anonymous calls weeks, even years, after their attack. On the line, the same raspy voice. "Remember when we played?" One infamous call, recorded in 1977, simply repeated the words, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you," over and over. Greater than, despite composite sketches and survivor reports, police couldn't catch him. He was always one step ahead. And then the killings began. In 1980, in Ventura County, 33-year-old Charlene Smith and her husband Lyman were found brutally bludgeoned to death in their home. Charlene had been raped before being murdered. Greater than, over the next 6 years, at least 12 more people were killed. Couples attacked in their beds. Some victims were shot, others beaten to death with household items. Greater than, many of the crime scenes showed the same signature: ligatures, broken windows, no fingerprints, and often sexual assault. Victims included Keith and Patrice Harrington, Deborah Manning and Robert Offerman. An 18-year-old Janelle Cruz, greater than the killer, was now being called the original Night Stalker, not to be confused with Richard Ramirez. Despite the growing list of victims, the Golden State Killer remained unidentified. Police struggled with limited forensic tools and poor communication across jurisdictions. Greater than dozens of task forces were created, sketches released, books written, but no leads. The fear lingered. Even after the murders ended in 1986, survivors lived in fear that he would return. Greater than many victims refused interviews. Others joined online communities like Iran's survivors to connect, share details, and never stop seeking answers. The breakthrough came with science. In the early 2000s, preserved DNA from old rape kits allowed authorities to link the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker as the same man. But still, they had no name, no face. Greater than then came the turning point: genetic genealogy. Greater than in 2018, detectives uploaded crime scene DNA to GEDmatch, a public genealogy website. A family tree was built from a distant cousin, and it led straight to a 72-year-old man, Joseph James DeAngelo. DeAngelo had once been a police officer in Auburn, California. He had been fired in 1979 for shoplifting. Greater than he had the training, the access, the rage. And finally, investigators had their man. Greater than April 24, 2018, DeAngelo was arrested outside his Citrus Heights home. Inside, they found stolen jewelry, hidden weapons, and chilling keepsakes from victims. To his neighbors, DeAngelo was a grumpy, reclusive old man. But behind closed doors, he was still reliving his past crimes. A former Navy veteran and police officer, DeAngelo had blended into society for decades. He had 3 daughters. He worked at a grocery distribution center until retirement. Greater than, and yet he never confessed until the evidence cornered him. At his arrest, DeAngelo muttered, "I did all those things. I didn't have the strength to push him out." Some experts believe he was referring to a dark alternate personality, possibly schizophrenia or a dissociative disorder. In June 2020, DeAngelo pleaded guilty to 13 counts of murder and 13 counts of kidnapping. As part of a deal to avoid the death penalty, he also confessed to dozens of other crimes. Greater than the court heard heart-wrenching testimonies from survivors and families. One survivor said, "You took away my safety, my voice, my soul. But today, I take it back." August 21, 2020, DeAngelo was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Greater than at the end of his sentencing, he rose from his wheelchair and whispered, "I'm truly sorry." Greater than for many, it was too little, too late. The Golden State Killer case changed everything. It proved the power of DNA genealogy in solving cold cases. Since DeAngelo's arrest, over 150 other cold cases in the US and Europe have been solved using the same technique. Greater than, it raised debates about privacy versus justice. Should your DNA be used to catch a relative? And it inspired a wave of documentaries, books, and global awareness about victim justice and forensic innovation. Michelle McNamara's posthumous book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, helped humanize the case and reignite the search. Greater than, she passed away before DeAngelo's arrest, but her work played a pivotal role in pushing investigators toward new methods. Joseph DeAngelo is now 78 years old, rotting in a prison cell. But the terror he unleashed continues to echo. He changed lives. He changed law enforcement. And he changed how we pursue justice in the modern era. Greater than thank you for watching the crime stream. If this case chilled you as much as it did us, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more long-form true crime stories every week. Greater than. And if you believe DNA should be used to solve more cold cases, comment below with justice deserves the truth.